if you could make a prop in your collection work like it did in the movie, TV show, or game it came from, what would it be and why? So you're asking if I would take a prop from my collection and make it real. And the answer is, oh yeah, I've got that answer. Oh, yet another live stream in which I pull out the Samaritan. It is like a regular tradition here on the live streams. This is my Hellboy Samaritan. I built this in the, oh wow, it needs a little adjustment, doesn't it? I built this in the summer of 2020, and it is scratch built by me out of chunks of aluminum. Every screw has been custom built. It has, yeah, this was a journey, a month-long, 200-hour escapade that I could not be happier with. I just love this object. But the moment whenever I make a prop, I am always looking for a certain kind of experience from that piece. And when I started making this, the experience I was looking for was the one I had holding the original. And I've held the original, this one of one. And I finished this and I held it, and it feels exactly like the original. Feels precisely like the original pistol made by Weta for Guillermo, for Hellboy. And the moment I held it, I was like, oh, I want one in steel. Which is true. I do want one in steel. Yeah. So it is a long unfulfilled build, but at some point I will make this sidearm out of steel, and I will, when that happens, I will make real bullets for it. And I want to fire them. I want to make a working firearm out of the Hellboy Samaritan. Now that sounds insane, and I agree, but here's what I think will actually happen when I do that. This is so much bullet. And we got to assume, for the sake of the argument, that the first pass at this bullet, this is going to be lead like all bullets. And this is your, brass casing filled with powder. This powder to bullet relationship is terrible from a bullet standpoint. This is a lot of mass to move. And really, I don't think not nearly enough powder to do that moving. So I suspect that it's possible that this gun might not be able to fire these bullets more than a couple 100 feet before they bounce off the ground, which to me would be a stunning, hilarious outcome. That makes me very happy. So that is totally the prop that I would build. Let's see here. This is another question along the same lines. David Stanaway says, what prop have you seen or worked on that you most wished was a real thing, working exactly like it did in the film? Well, I mean, the Star Trek communicators, right? Like, that would be amazing. That would be a really lovely way to have open channel communications with people. But I also, the first thought that came to me, and, there's that first thought, best thought thing. The first thought that came to me was the amphicopter from AI, which is like it's like a hovering two-seater vehicle that Jude Law and Haley Osment ride to a submerged New York in the second act of AI, which is terrific. And I worked on it. I built all the broken, decrepit buildings in a 50-foot deep submerged New York City. I spent 6 months on that gig. It was really fun. And the amphicopter came in, and Steve Gawley built that, I believe. And it's just a beautiful bit of industrial design, first of all. And the way it moved in the movie, I wanted one. I want one. Yeah. I want a flying car. Can I have a flying car? Soon. SP Productions has a process question about Tested. How do you go about planning next year's builds? Or is the process more fluid and you go with what comes along? It is very fluid. We have a few builds already slated for next year. We have a few couple collaborations already slated for next year, and an agreement with some large franchises to do some fun shit. And there'll be more development on that as the year turns and we progress into 2023. But it's a pretty organic process. What we're looking for is willing collaborators and people to have fun with and play with. So that might be visiting the set of a show like The Expanse, or hopefully what we do in the shadows or something like that, or it might be visiting the set of a huge franchise TV show, or it may be just collaborating with some custom restorers and some antique weapons makers. I tend to need a certain amount of oscillation between big and small. Like after a few weeks of one-day builds, I often need to like spend a week doing one thing. I often require a little bit of a longer play in order to sink my teeth into something. So this last week, for example, I ended up tackling actually this whole section of my shop from here to here, like 15 linear feet of my shop wall space got completely redesigned and rebuilt. And those are 2 or 3 one-day builds that are going to come up soon. That was absolutely me. It's funny, this year felt quite slow until April, and then it feels like I've been flying constantly since April. And so it's felt like in some ways that I've been doing one-day builds all since last year, since I did the G4 spacesuit. It really feels like it has been quick and dirty builds since that month-long escapade. And like I said, every now and then I need a longer one. And I've got a couple in the hopper, a couple of deeper builds in the hopper that I'm playing with. The sword is totally one of them. We're going to get more refined with some of the machining stuff in 2023. Look, it's the best of all worlds for me, right? Like I get to play with some wonderful collaborators at some amazing institutions. And at the same time, I get to come in here too and just work alone on my stuff in my fiefdom here, which is such a deep pleasure. And I again, as I tally up the things that I am grateful for on a constant basis, but certainly at the end of every year, the fact that you are watching this is one of the reasons that I get to do this. So thank you for your support. Thank you all the Tested Premium members. And thank you to all of the memberships being given by JV, John Scherer, and Thomas Essen, making sure I get everyone's name right. Your support means that we get to all do this wonderful content, and we're having a blast. All of us are having a blast. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a Tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.